بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم لا سهلا إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا ربي زدني علما اللهم انفعني بما علمتني وعلمني ما ينفعني ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. We start in the name of Allah. We ask that He makes learning the Quran easy for us. We ask that He increases us in our knowledge, and we ask that He grants us beneficial knowledge that will be useful for us. And we ask that He accepts the small efforts we are making in His path. Ameen. Yesterday we went through the Shadda. Not the Shadda, the Sakin. We went through the stationary letters, so the letters that have no movement on them. We mentioned a few things. We mentioned that these letters will always be, will never come by themselves. They will always come with a letter before it, and that indicates that the two letters are being joined. For example, you'll have tah or takh or tad. So, the stationary letters will never come by themselves. We also went through a new Tajweed rule. We went through the rule of qalqala, the bouncing, echoing sound. We mentioned that the 5 letters of qalqala are Qaf, Ta, Ba, Jim, and Dal. And whenever the sakin appears on any of those letters, then you're going to have to bounce the sound. You won't make it, just like a complete stop on the letter itself, but you will bounce the sound a little bit, echo it a little bit. So for the Ba, it will sound like this, Tab, instead of saying Tab. For the Jim, it will sound like this, Taj. Dal, it will sound Tad. For the Ta, a bit more tricky, but it will sound like this, Talto, Talto, Talto. And for the Qaf, it will sound like this, Taqo, Taqo, Taqo. And I mentioned that the qalqala rule itself is supposed to be something quite natural, meaning you shouldn't overthink it. As long as you know it's there, then you should be able to make the sound quite naturally, meaning you don't have to overemphasize anything. With regards to the rule, you don't need to overemphasize it, because when you overemphasize it and when you overthink it, that's when you're going to accidentally put a fatha in, and instead of saying taqo, you're going to end up saying taqa, and that's incorrect. So you want to just make it as natural as possible. And if you are pronouncing the letter from the correct makhraj, then it should come quite naturally, inshallah. Now, a lot of the brothers, a lot of you brothers sent the homework. Unfortunately, I was really quite busy today, and I did not get a chance to listen to any of them, unfortunately. So I do apologize about that. But inshallah, tomorrow will do my best to go through the homeworks that have been sent. So if I haven't responded to you, it's not because I'm ignoring you or anything like that. It's just because I was just quite preoccupied today. I had a lot of things to do, and I did not get time to go around into the homeworks, unfortunately. So inshallah, tomorrow I will go through the previous day's homework, and if you send me today's homework as well, I'll go through both of them, inshallah. So don't worry about that. Now, the plan for today's lesson is to go through, we are going to go through a new rule, inshallah. So today we'll be learning about the stretched letters, okay? So what are the stretched letters? They are called the huruf mad, but if you want to just say in English, just call them the stretched letters. And they are letters that will be stretched, okay? So far we've come across the fatha, which is a, the kasra, which is I, and the dhamma, which is u. And now we've come across the stationary letters, which is just a letter that has no movement on it. But now we are coming across something new, and this is the stretched letter, okay? So these are letters that will be stretched when they are recited, okay? Now, there are 3 types of stretched letters, okay? 1, 2, and 3, as you can see over here. You have fatha before alif, kasra before ya sakin, dhamma before waw sakin. Today, we will just be going over fatha before alif. So we'll only be focusing on number 1 today. Inshallah, maybe tomorrow we'll be able to we'll go through 2 and 3. But just for today, we'll be focusing on number 1. So that's the plan. Today we'll be going through the fatha before alif, and then tomorrow we'll go over kasra before ya sakin, dhamma before waw sakin. So this is just an introduction to the stretch letters. We'll be going over one of these 3, inshallah. So hopefully it'll give you time to become accustomed to this new thing. And then tomorrow when I go over the other 2, you'll already have a basic understanding of what a stretch letter is, and these will be much more easier to understand. So with that in mind, let's get started. So as I've mentioned, the stretch letters are letters that will be, as it suggests, stretched. So the first type of these are fatha before alif. So I want everyone to just repeat that. Fatha before alif. Fatha before alif. Fatha before alif. These are the first type of letters that will be stretched. What does that mean? It means that whenever we see a letter, whenever we see any kind of letter, and it's a fatha, but the fatha comes before an alif, then that fatha is going to be stretched. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll go through the first line, and hopefully, inshallah, you guys will understand what this means. So it might sound a bit confusing, but hopefully it'll make a lot more sense. So if we look at this hamza over here, the one that's grayed out, it's just a hamza with a fatha. So the sound this hamza will make is a. We will just simply say a. That's the sound of the fatha. It's quite short. It's very brief. It doesn't make any kind of stretch or anything at all. It's just a simple a. Now, if we look at this hamza over here, we see that it's a fatha, but we see that there's an alif next to it. We see that it's a fatha before alif. Okay, so I'm just going to underline it like this. Now, this fatha now, because it comes before the alif, the fatha will be stretched. So instead of saying a, we're going to say okay, so I'm just going to say that again. Because, so this hamza has a fatha. The sound it makes is a. This hamza has a fatha, but the fatha is before an alif, so it will be stretched. It will say, it will be pronounced okay. So if we just look at this letter here, this ba has a fatha on it. So the sound of this that this letter will make is ba. Ba. Now if you look at this one here, the one that's in the white box, the ba has a fatha before an alif. Okay, it's connected together, but if you look carefully, this long line here is basically the alif. So we say that it's a fatha before alif. As I mentioned before, fatha before alif, fatha before alif. Okay, so fatha before alif, this will be stretched, and we will say ba. This is ba. This is fatha before alif. It is ba. Okay. If we look at the ta, this ta here in the grayed out box has a fatha on it, so this is just simply pronounced ta. Now, if we look at this ta, it's a ta, but it has an alif next to it with a fatha before it, so it's a fatha before alif, so it's going to be stretched. We are going to say ta. Okay, we are still pronouncing the fatha. We are still reading the ta with a fatha. We're not making any of the vowel sound yet. We're just reading a fatha, but we're stretching the sound of the fatha. Okay, so we are saying ta. If you look at the next letter, the tha has a fatha on it in this grayed out box, so this will just be tha. But here, this tha has a fatha before alif. Fatha before alif will be stretched, so the sound of the fatha will be stretched. This will be tha, tha, tha. Okay. So I just want to gauge how is everyone feeling at the moment. If you understand this concept of fatha before alif being stretched, one, if you're not unsure, if you're unsure, or if you have a question, just feel free to ask a question. Inshallah, if there's no questions, what we'll do is we'll just go through these letters one by one. Inshallah. Anyone got any questions at the moment? Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Oh, sorry, I've got you on two devices. Let me just put that up. Just a quick question: there's no other markings for the to stretch the letter? There's no other markings. It's just fatha before alif, right?
Yes. So at the moment, we won't deal with any other markings. And I think I know what you might be thinking about. You might be thinking about this little.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
That's a rule we look into that in the future, inshallah. So don't worry about that one for now. We won't be dealing with this for now. For now, there won't be any other marking. It's just fatha before alif. Yeah.
Jazakallah khair.
Very good question, though. Jazakallah khair, brother. Okay, so we'll carry on, inshallah. We'll just go through these letters one by one. Everyone just obviously practice. Keep your mics muted while you're practicing, but make sure you're reading loudly, inshallah. So the letter Jim with the fatha before alif is going to be Ja, Ja, Ja. The letter Ha with the fatha before alif, it looks like this. It's got a little line next to it, like the Jim. And this will be Ha, Ha, Ha. Okay. The letter Kha, again, it's a heavy letter. So we need to mark that. And now we know it's also a stretch letter because it's a fatha before alif over here. So we'll keep that heavy quality, but we're just going to stretch it. So now we're going to say Kha, Kha, Kha. Okay, so you have to keep that that heavy quality. You can't say Kha because that's incorrect. You're not making it heavy. Okay. The letter Dal with the fatha before alif looks like this. It'll just be separate from the Dal itself. But the alif will be next to it, and this is going to be Da, Da, Da. Okay, quite a soft sound. The letter Dal, again, tip of the tongue touching the tip of the top two teeth. So the same sound of the Dal, but you're just going to stretch it. So it's going to be the. Now the letter Ra, we mentioned that whenever the Ra has a fatha on it, it will be heavy. So this Ra will be heavy because it's a fatha. It doesn't matter if that is fatha before alif. If as long as it's a fatha, it doesn't matter what type of fatha is. If it's on a Ra, it will be heavy. And because it's a fatha before alif, it will also be stretched. So this will be Ra, Ra, Ra. Okay. Moving on, the letter Za, simple, is going to be Za, Za, Za. The letter Sin with the fatha before alif, it will be Sa, Sa, Sa. Now, just before I carry on with the rest of the letters, just note how I am marking the letters, okay? All of these stretch letters, I'm marking it with a little underline. This is something that I'm going to ask everyone to do now. As I mentioned very, very early on in the course, whenever we learn something new or whenever I'm teaching you something new, we are going to, I'm going to tell you how to mark it so that way you'll be able to recognize it, inshallah. So make sure now, whenever you do your practice, any stretch letters, you're going to be underlining them. So heavy letters will be indicated with a circle. Joined letters will be indicated with just a little join like that. Qalqala will be a little Q underneath. And now the stretch letters, any stretch letter, we'll be learning the other two types of stretch letters tomorrow. You're just going to put a little line underneath the stretch letter. And it's very, very important to do the markings because trust me, we're going to learn many, many more rules next week. And it's important to get comfortable with these markings. It's going to help you to get comfortable with the rules and comfortable with identifying them and applying them too. So make sure that you are marking when you practice, inshallah. So carrying on, the letter Sheen is with the fatha before alif is pronounced sha, sha, sha. The letter Sad, a heavy letter. So that means we are going to put lots of pressure on the makhraj. For the Sad, it's the tip of the tongue touching the bottom two teeth. Put lots and lots of pressure there, and slowly release the sound, and it's going to be so, so, so. It needs to be different from the scene. Sa, so, sa, so. Okay. The letter Dad, a heavy letter again. And this time the makhraj is the side of the tongue touching the side of the back teeth. Okay, so put your tongue there and put lots of pressure there and slowly release the sound. It will be bo, bo, bo. Okay, the letter ta with the fatha alif alif looks like this. It's just a little line like that next to it. So again, heavy letter, lots of pressure on the makhraj. To, to, to. Now this needs to sound different. Ta, to, ta, to. Okay, they need to sound distinct. The letter va, again heavy letter. Now again, the makhraj for va, tip of the tongue, touching the tip of the teeth. So put your tongue there. Make sure you do not touch the bottom teeth. Put lots of pressure there, and slowly release the sound. Va, va, va. With regards to the letter va, this is just some advice. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of doing this, but it might help a few brothers. If you struggle a lot with va because you have a habit of saying za, I know it's very, very common for a lot of people to say za, especially if you're like Bengali or Pakistani or Indian. That's kind of how they do it back home. They say za instead of za. So if you have a strong habit, if you've been saying za for a very, very, very long time and you have difficulty saying za, and then this is just something to help you, inshallah, get out of that habit. It's not correct. So doing it this way is not correct, but think of it as basically a stepping stone towards reading it correctly. So it's like a middle ground. So Brother Aman, are you okay?
Yeah. I clicked it by accident.
Okay, no worries. So the letter dha, the correct makhraj is over here, the tip of the teeth. Okay, you don't want it to. If your tongue is touching there, then that's the correct spot. Now, if you have a lot of difficulty getting your tongue there, or your brain just automatically goes here, then what you can do as a stepping stone is get your tongue to just touch like the outside part of the top teeth. Okay, just touch the outside part of the top teeth, and then now again this sound is going to be incorrect. Putting your tongue here is going to be incorrect, but it's a stepping stone to transition from. Your tongue is always touching the bottom teeth. You have a habit of doing that. So if you have a habit of doing that and it's really difficult to put it there, then put your tongue here. And then what that's going to do is it's going to link the letter dha with the top teeth. And then once you've done that for maybe a week or 2 weeks, don't do it all the time. Once you've done it for a week or 2 weeks and you like your tongue always goes to the top teeth, then transition from there to that point over here. So that's just some advice for the letter dha if you have a lot of difficulty with it, inshallah. The most important thing is getting it on the top teeth first. Once you do that, then try and get the particular place, inshallah. So that's the letter dha. The letter ayn, the middle of the throat. Again, if you have difficulty with the ayn, you have to practice the ayn every day. Spend time on it, get the makhraj correct, get that sound correct, and inshallah, this ayn will be easy. And it's very, very important to get the ayn down. Obviously, it's important to get every letter down, but particularly this one. This comes up in Surah Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Okay. The letter Ghain, Fatha before Alif. Again, this is a heavy letter. And the sound comes from the top of the throat. So it's similar to Kha. So this is going to be Gha, Gha, Gha. Okay. The letter Fa with the Fatha before Alif is Fa, Fa, Fa. The letter Qaf, heavy letter, Fatha before Alif. Qa, Qa, Qa. The letter Kaf, Fatha before Alif. Ka, Ka, Ka. The letter Lam looks like this. The Fatha is just missing in here, but normally it will be there. So this is La, La, La. The letter Mim, Fatha before Alif. Ma, Ma, Ma. The letter Nun, Fatha before Alif. Na, Na, Na. The letter Ha. Now again, this is very, very soft sound from the bottom of the throat. Ha, Ha, Ha. Really, really soft from the bottom of the throat. The letter Waw, Fatha before Alif. Wa, Wa, Wa. And lastly, the letter Ya, Fatha before Alif. Ya, Ya, Ya. Okay. So this is the first set of the stretch letters, the first ones, the Fatha before Alif. So what I want you guys to do is make sure you memorize. I'm going to ask you to memorize these three. So for today, make sure you memorize this phrase, Fatha before Alif. So if I ask you, what are the stretch letters? You have to be able to just immediately say Fatha before Alif, Fatha before Alif. That's a stretch letter. Okay. Obviously, after tomorrow, I'm going to ask you to memorize the other two as well. But just for today, make sure you memorize this first one, Fatha before Alif. Now, the Fatha before Alif is a stretch, as we've just gone through all of them. It can appear in a different way too. So sometimes you'll have a letter. For example, you just do the letter Ba. Okay. Now, if you look over here, the Ba, the way it looks like when it's Fatha before Alif, it looks like this. Okay. So you got a little Ba, and you got this Alif next to it. Now, and this will be stretched. This will be Ba. Sorry, that's not Ba, that's a Noon. My apologies for that. So it will look like this. Ba. Okay. Now, it can also look like this. So you might it might not look exactly like this, but basically you'll have the letter with a standing fatha. So that's what I call it. I call it a standing fatha. So so if you look at the fatha is basically, it's just like this. It's like a sideways kind of line. Sometimes on letters, the line will just be like standing up, like so. And when it's standing up like that, it just indicates that is basically going to be read the exact same as a fatha before alif. So if you see a standing fatha, it's just it means the exact same thing. You're just going to stretch the sound of the fatha. Okay. So if the fatha normally looks like this, like a sideways line, if it's standing up on top of the letter, then you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to stretch it. Okay. So at the moment, how's everyone feeling? One, if you feel good and you're ready to practice. a 5 if you're a bit confused about anything and you'd like to ask a question. Any questions? If anyone writes a 5, I would like you to let me know what are you wondering about.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. The what you just showed with the ba and the standing fatha, is it going to be mixed in the Quran, or is like one script has one style and another script has a different style?
So I think generally they will always be the same. So they will always appear like a standing fatha. All of the scripts.
So I've read the Bengali Quran,
Right.
and like what I'm reading is completely different style.
Right. I'm not sure about the Bengali Quran. I'll get back to you on that, inshallah. Yeah.
Okay, no worries.
Okay. Okay. So what we'll do is we've got quite a lot of time left. So what we can do is we can go through some practice, inshallah. So we've got a really long time left, actually. We can maybe, if there's time, we can maybe go through Kasra before Yasakin, but I'll prefer to do that tomorrow, actually. So what we'll do is we'll go through practice, inshallah. Maybe I'll call on everyone to read at least one word, and then inshallah, I'll just end the lesson. So if anyone would like to go first for practice, just put your hand up. What I'll do as well, I'll go through one or two just myself first, just so you get an idea, and then inshallah I'll call a few people, inshallah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just do one or two first. So I'll do this one first. So here, we want to use the method. So we need to identify everything first. So we need to identify heavy letters, joinings, qalqalas, and stretch letters. Okay, so 4 things you need to keep in mind. The qalqala, you do it after you've identified any joining. If nothing is joined, you don't think about qalqala, but you only think about qalqala after you've identified if there's something joined together. So in terms of heavy letters, there aren't any. There's nothing joined, and there's a stretch letter, this fatha before alif. So this will be stretched. So we can start reading it. It will be da, mu, adamu, adamu. Okay. I'll do 2 more, inshallah. So here, this word over here. So this is a nice example of what the standing fatha looks like. So if you look over here, this ba has a standing fatha on it. So what that means is this ba is going to be stretched. The fatha will be stretched. Okay. Also, we have the ra with the fatha. The ra with the fatha is heavy. So we need to mark that. So now we'll read it. Ta, ba, taba, ra, tabara, ka, tabaraka, tabaraka. Now, the reason why we mark them, the reason why we mark the stretch letters is very, very simple. It's the same reason why we mark the heavy letters. Number one, so that we make sure we stretch that letter. So in the case of the heavy letters, so that we make sure we make that letter heavy. But number two is to make sure we do not stretch anything else. Okay, to make sure that all the short letters, we keep them short. You know, I mentioned, you know, in the first lesson of this course that Tajweed is reading every letter correctly and making sure everything that is long is read long and everything that is supposed to be read short is read short. So it's a very, very, very common mistake for people to stretch something that should not be stretched. Very, very common. When someone's learning Quran, it's very common. The reason why it's common is they aren't comfortable with reading, pronouncing particular letters. So what happens is, as their mouth, as their brain is trying to process everything, they just stretch some letters before it. So they might, you know, if they're not used to reading Arabic, this word over here, this word here, they might read, they might be unsure with what this letter is. So they might say, Adamu. They might stretch this dal by accident because they're thinking about the next letter. They're looking at the next letter and unintentionally, they're making a mistake. So this is why we mark them. This is the importance of marking it, is it helps us to avoid these mistakes, and it gets us, comfortable with identifying all the particular rules. Okay, so this is why we make sure we mark everything. Okay, so now I'll call people to read. Brother Muhammad, you unmuted yourself first, so would you like to go?
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Assalamu wa rahmatullah. Okay, so try do this one here.
Okay. So in terms of the stretched letter, it's the ta.
Yep.
And that's it.
Any heavy letters?
No.
How about the kha here?
Oh, apologies. Yes, it is. I thought it was a G. Yeah, that's heavy letter.
No worries. So kha heavy letter. Begin.
Kha, but kri, ta, mu, ta, mu, hu, ta, mu, hu.
Okay, mashallah. You pronounced everything correctly. But one thing to work on is putting everything together in one go. So instead of saying khitamuhu, try and say khitamuhu. Now, how I want you to do it is start again, but before you do the meme, make sure you're able to read khita together fluently. So try again.
Khita,
Again.
mu,
Before the meme.
khita,
Good.
mu. Then it's hu. Khita, muhu, muhu.
MashaAllah, good. Try doing, let's pick a difficult one. Try doing this one here.
Okay. So the swad is a heavy letter, and the stretched letter is the alif.
This one?
Yes. Well,
So
it's a swad. It's going to be aslahu. Yes, it's going to be the swad. The stretched letter is going to be the swad as well.
So just a quick reminder, stretch letter will be fatha before alif. So the sad has a sakin, not a fatha. So the sad will not be
stretched. The wa is going to be the stretch then.
Okay, so you've fallen into a little trap here. So alhamdulillah, I'm very glad you've made this. So now inshallah everyone can learn. So whenever we see something like this, this is we see the waw with the fatha, and it is before an alif technically. But if we look carefully, the hamza is on top of the alif. So the hamza will take precedence. We're not going to read the alif. And because of this, this waw will not be stretched because it's now become a fatha before hamza. It's no longer fatha before alif, it's fatha before hamza. So this waw will not be stretched. But it's a very, very easy mistake to make. So don't worry about it. And this hamza will be joined to the sad. And this waw will not be stretched. So which is the stretched one? It's not the waw.
Sorry, you broke up then. So there's no stretched letter.
There is one stretched letter.
So it's going to be the sad.
Not the sad. The sad has a sakin on it.
Will be the alif then.
Not the alif.
Oh, sorry, apologies. The last letter.
The last letter. Fantastic. Yeah. So this ha will be stretched. Very difficult to, easy to miss actually, because obviously it's like that. You can't. It's not really like by itself. The alif is joined to the letter, but it's a very easy thing to miss. So this ha will be stretched. So begin.
So wa a.
So instead of saying wa, we've identified that this hamza is joined to the sad. So just join it immediately.
Okay, fair enough. Wa'af la wa'aslaha wa'aslaha
MashaAllah, good. Try to make the ha a bit more clear. So ha.
Wa aslaha.
MashaAllah, very, very good. You can do the ha there, yeah? So you
Okay.
can read the ha. It's just make sure that you just take a bit of care whenever you see that ha, pronounce it as best as you can, yeah? Jazakallah
Okay.
khair, brother, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
So let's see, Brother Amman, your hand went up second.
I'm here,
Let's see, try doing this one.
yeah.
So before you do it, I'm just gonna make a quick reminder for everyone. The things that we are identifying are heavy letters, then joinings, then after joinings, check qalqala, and then lastly, stretch letters. So it's just a quick reminder of things to look out for. So let me know steps.
There's no heavy letters. There's one qalqala, and there's one stretching with the ha.
So where's the qalqala?
Judge.
Very, very good.
Right. So ha judge, ha judge tum, ha judge tum.
Okay, so mashallah, that was good. But between ha and judge, there was a bit of a pause. So you kind of read ha judgetum. So try to join it all together in one go.
Okay. Ha judge tum.
Yeah. So try and say like this. Ha
Ha judge
judge.
tum.
So ha judgetum.
Ha judge tum.
MashaAllah, very, very good. When you read it fluently, the main thing to keep in mind is try to keep everything the same pace. So if you're reading the ha slowly, read jajatum also slowly. And this is for everyone, of course, not just for you, my brother. When we are reading everything together, it's important to keep the same pace as we read, because in that way, if we speed up somewhere and slow down somewhere else, then it won't sound as nice. Whereas if we read everything the same pace, obviously try and read it slowly, it's going to sound much more nicer. Brother, do you want to do one more?
Yeah, sure.
Try this one underneath it.
There's one heavy letter which is kha, and then there's one qalqala with his hum, and there's stretching one with kha again.
So hum is not a qalqala. The qalqala is only qaf, ta, ba, jim, dal. This is just a normal joining, no qalqala here.
Okay. And then the stretching one is a kha.
Yep.
Right. Kha di au khadi'u hum khadi'uhum.
MashaAllah. Very, very good. Jazakallah khair, brother. That was fantastic.
No problem. Thank you.
Brother Jeffrey.
Yeah. Okay, brother. Yeah, fine.
Try doing. Let's pick one over here on this page. I'll pick a difficult one if that's okay.
Right. Yes.
Try this one, inshallah.
Okay.
So again, reminder: heavy letters,
Yes.
then joinings, and stretch letters. Things to look out for.
Okay. The two heavy letters. One is sword. One is ha.
Yep.
And there's joining, no kalkala, joining letters only. I think yah.
Very, very good.
Yeah. And stretch is fa.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Yah. So yah.
So not sa. The sword has
sorry.
a kasra on it.
Sorry. Yahsi. Sorry. Yahsi. Fa. Yahsifa. Ni. Yahsifani.
So try to make the sad a bit more heavy. Try and say si.
يخصفان
So again.
يخصفان
So just try saying the sad by itself. Si.
si
Again. Si. Now try say the whole thing. يخصفان.
يخصفان.
MashaAllah. Very, very good. Jazakallah khair, brother. Do you want to do one more?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, fine.
So try doing this one here.
Okay. There's no heavy letter, no kalkala, and joint letters are here.
Yep.
Ain and mim. Hum, hum. Yeah, that's it. Okay. And stretch letter is ma.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Ma. Lu. Malu. Hum. Maluhum.
That was good. Just the ayn, the pronunciation of the ayn was not clear. So try and say
Maluhum.
Yeah. Try and say ayn for me.
Ain.
Ayn again.
Ain.
Now try and say like that. Yeah. A'maluhum.
A'maluhum.
Much better. Jazakallah khair, brother.
No problem. Jazakallah.
Let's see. Brother Shahriya.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Let's try
Can
doing.
you pick one with Saad, please? Because that's one of the ones I was struggling with.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
We can do this one here.
Thank you. Okay, sure. So the heavy letter is Saad.
Yep.
Saad. And does that lam count as a stretch letter? Because I think, is that joined to alif?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. And then there's a joining with the ha and the mim.
Fantastic.
Okay, cool. Where is that? Sa la tu salatu salatu hum salatuhum.
MashaAllah, very good. We'll try one more with the sad as well. So try doing this one here.
Okay. So the heavy letter sad, and then we have a stretch letter. Is that on the lam or the ya?
So this one is on the lam.
It's on the lam. Okay, so that's the stretch letter, is the lam. Okay. Okay. Sa ya Oh no, it's joining. I forgot the join. Yes, there's the ya is joined to the sad.
Yep.
So that's going to be sa yas la sa yas la. Oh wait,
Again?
is it? Yes. Sa yas la.
So with the sad on the sakin, try and say like this. So try and just say yes.
Sorry, I think the audio is cut out. I can't hear anything. I don't know if it's my connection.
Can you hear me, brother?
Oh no.
Okay.
Sorry, I think the connection lost. I didn't hear you for the last 20 seconds.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay. So try, with the sad with the sakin, try and say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So put a lot of pressure on the bottom teeth. Yes.
Yes.
Now try and say sayas.
Sayas.
And then la. Sayas la.
Sayas la.
So we're not holding on to the sound. We're not holding on to it. What we're doing is we're putting more pressure on our teeth when we say it. So it's going to take a bit of practice. When you said the sad with the fatha, it was good. So that's good. I think maybe with the sakin just needs a bit of practice, inshallah. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, brother. Let's see. Brother Adam.
Yes, hello.
Well, assalamu alaikum, brother.
Walaikum salam.
Try and do this word over here.
All right. Uh,
So,
Dain.
so break it down for me. Tell me anything you see. So heavy letters, stretch letters, joining.
Ta heavy.
Yep.
Yeah, empty mouth.
Yep.
Noon, empty mouth.
Yep.
Kaf, empty mouth.
Yep. Anything stretched?
Yeah. No, noon.
Noon. And anything joined together?
Dawn, yeah.
Anything else?
Ain and Hamza.
Fantastic. Okay, begin.
أعطيناك.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Fantastic. Really, really well read, brother. Do you want to do one more?
Sure.
Try this one, inshallah.
وتواصوا.
MashaAllah, fantastic. Really, really well read, brother. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you.
Brother Saeed?
Yep.
Let's pick. Try. Let me see what's on the other page. Okay, that's fine. So try do this one here.
Okay. Heavy letters. Let's have a look. No heavy letters.
No?
No.
Good.
Joining is the Ain and the Ya.
Yep.
The first letter is the stretch one.
Yep.
Okay, is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Ya shu. Ya shu. I. Ya shu I. Bu. Ya shu I bu.
MashaAllah, well read. Just the pronunciation of the Ain was not very clear. So try and say again. So try and say I. Again. I. Now try and say Ya Shu'aibu.
Ya Shu'aibu.
MashaAllah. Try doing this one here.
The Qaf is a heavy letter. Nope. The joining is the last two.
Yep.
And the Qaf is as well the stretched letter.
Fantastic.
Nafa, ko, tu, tu, hum.
MashaAllah, well read. You made one slight mistake. And it's what we mentioned before. You kind of stretched this fa over here.
Okay.
So try read again, but don't stretch the fa. So again.
Okay, I stretched it. Let me do it again. Nafaqatuhum.
MashaAllah, fantastic. So you can see now quite how easily it is to just stretch something, even if you stretch it a little bit. But it's important for us to be wary of this. That way we'll avoid the mistake. Jazakallah khair, brother. Fantastic. Okay, so we've got a few minutes left. So what I want to do is just explain a few things, inshallah. So on some of these words, you might see a little line on top of it. You might see a line like this over here. There's one here like that. Okay. Don't worry about this line for now. This line is to do with a particular rule of Tajweed, but I'm not going to mention it now. We're going to mention it more right towards the end of the course. In the last week, inshallah, I will explain what this line means and what this particular rule is, how we apply the rule, when we'll see this rule coming. So don't worry about it for now. Whenever you see this line, just ignore it for now, inshallah. We will definitely go over it, but just not right now. Another thing I want to mention is make sure that you are marking everything. You know, in terms of the rules, make sure you are marking everything, because as I mentioned, next week we will be going through a lot of difficult rules, and there's going to be a lot of theory. So it's important to get comfortable with this foundation of rules first. You know, heavy letters, stretch letters, these are the joinings. These are basically the foundational rules. Okay. Also things like ghunna. Ghunna, actually, we haven't mentioned it. So ghunna is something that we will learn soon as well, inshallah. But these are basically the foundational rules. So get comfortable with them, get confident with them. You know, and the only way you're going to do that is if you're marking it, and you know, as you mark it, also apply it to. And with regards to the stretch letters, is the main thing to do with the stretch letters is make sure you only stretch that letter and do not stretch any of the other letters. Okay. Now, with regards to when you're practicing, make sure that the goal is not to read everything. The goal is to whatever you do read, you read it correctly. Okay. So if you're struggling on a particular letter, for example, if you're struggling on ha, okay, and there's a word with the ha, like this one, then make sure you spend as much time as you can practicing it, because then once you fix it, then it's going to be fixed forever, inshallah. Okay. Whereas if you don't take the time to fix it, then when is it going to get fixed? Okay. And that goes with everything. Any letter that you have difficulty with, spend as much time as you can practicing it now, because I'm telling you guys, next week we're going to be learning a lot of difficult things, a lot of, you know, new rules. So you won't have as much time to practice foundational things as these. You know, you won't have as much time next week to be practicing letter pronunciation. Obviously, you'll have time after this course ends. I'm not saying you'll never have time ever in your life. I'm just saying in terms of this course, particularly just this course, next week is going to be a very difficult week in terms of theory. So it's really, really important. I can't stress it enough that you spend as much time as you can now getting the foundation down, building that solid, strong foundation. Because if you don't, then next week's going to come and you're going to struggle even more. And you know, from last month, one of the feedback was that one of the students said that they wish they had spent more time on you know, practicing letter pronunciation. So that's why I'm really emphasizing it this month, because last month one of the brothers, he did not spend as much time. He didn't know how important it would be. But right now I'm just telling you guys, it's very, very important. And as I mentioned at the beginning in one of the earlier lessons, being able to read the letters correctly is 80% of Tajweed. Okay, if you can read all of the letters correctly in all of their forms, you've got 80% of Tajweed, and the rules will come naturally one by one. You'll just be able to learn them, implement them. But getting the correct pronunciation is the main thing. Okay, now in terms of how to mark things, we've mentioned these four things. We've mentioned, let me just do it on Paint. So I've mentioned that heavy letters, we mark it with the heavy letters. We just zoom in. Okay. So heavy letters, we mark it with a little circle. Okay. So you mark these with a circle. Then anything that's joined, okay, you mark that with a little, just a little thing like that, just to show these two letters are joined, whatever two letters are there. And then from the joinings, you can identify all the qalqalas. So I'm just going to do a little arrow like this. So from whatever's joined, check if it's a qalqala. If it's a qalqala, put a Q underneath it. Okay. Stretch letters. We'll learn the other two tomorrow. You're going to mark it with a little line underneath. Okay. So it's going to be a little line underneath the letter. Okay. And I'm going to teach you a new thing now. And this is what I want everyone to do is I'm just going to write it as DL. that stands for difficult letters. Okay. Now, difficult letter is going to be different for everyone. Everyone is going to have different letters that they find difficult. Some brothers find ha and ain difficult. Other brothers will find sad and maybe dad difficult. Other brothers might find, kha and ghain and qaf difficult. So every brother will have difficulty with different letters. Now, if whatever letter you find difficult personally, whenever you see that letter, I want you to mark it with a little star underneath. So mark any difficult letters you see in your practice with a star underneath. And I want to make sure that I see this in the photos that you send. Make sure you mark the difficult letters with a star. What that's going to do is it's going to train your brain to identify that, okay, this is a difficult letter. I need to put more practice on this. I need to emphasize this. And this is something that my Ustad taught me. He didn't teach me the star, but he did teach me to mark anything I found difficult. Mark it and then practice it. Okay, if marking is step one, practicing is step two. If you don't mark it, you're less likely to practice it. But if you do mark it, then you're more likely to practice it. So make sure you mark all the difficult letters. So if you want to just take a quick picture or screenshot of this, then by all means do so. It's just a reference for how to go about marking all the rules that we have covered so far at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly go through how it should look. Okay, so for example, over here, for example, if someone has difficulty with the letter kha, okay, so this is how you would mark it. I'll do it with blue. Here we have the kha is a heavy letter. The sad is a heavy letter. The kha is also a stretched letter. And now let's say someone has, let's say I have difficulty pronouncing kha, I'm going to also mark it with a star underneath it. Okay. Or if I had difficulty with sad instead, then I would mark the sad with a star. Okay. And make sure that you do that. And then what that's going to do is it's going to just basically tell your brain, hey brain, put a lot of effort on this letter and pronounce it as best as you can. And then when you do it like that, you'll find yourself making progress, inshallah. Now, homework is going to be, well, we've done quite a lot of it already, but practice up to page 35. If you want to practice a little bit from here, then you can do so. There are some things we haven't covered yet, but if you want to, then you can practice. Let me find one. You can practice this one, and you can practice this one here, and you can practice this one, and this one here. There are quite a few, so you can practice these ones. Some of the other ones we haven't gone through a few of the rules, so you won't be able to practice them all, but these ones you can definitely practice them, inshallah. So if you want to practice a bunch of words together, an ayah, then by all means you can do that, but otherwise just practice these words and send me a few voice notes, inshallah. And as I mentioned, today I've been really quite busy, that's why I haven't gone through the voice notes, but inshallah tomorrow I'll go through yesterday's voice notes and whatever I get sent for this homework, inshallah. So that's the end of this class. Inshallah, I will see everyone tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.